Hi everyone, Jake here and welcome to another one-off Football Manager Rebuild here on the channel, where we take a club in Football Manager, focus purely on transfers in and out of a club to try and take them to new heights. Today we'll be taking over as manager of Leeds United, and if you could like the video, that would be great because it would help push the video out to more people on YouTube, and around 70% of you watching these videos aren't subscribed, so if you could hit the subscribe button too, that would be great. And the other thing to mention, drop your rebuild suggestions in the comments down below, and that might be who I rebuild next time. But let's get into it, shall we? Leeds United are a club who narrowly avoided relegation last year in the Premier League, despite having a very good first season back in the top flight in the season previous to that. Leeds have had plenty of success in their history, with 3 Premier League titles spanning 3 different decades. They've had European success as well, being runners-up in the Champions League on one occasion, and also winning the Europa League equivalent in the late 60s, early 70s. As well as that, they've won a Carabao Cup, they've won an FA Cup, and more recently, their biggest silverware came in winning the Sky Bet Championship, getting promoted back to the Premier League after a few years out of the big time. Their facilities are pretty decent, with average youth recruitment and good academy coaching, but they do have excellent youth facilities and superb training facilities, as well as a big stadium in Elland Road. And in terms of the squad, their key players are Calvin Phillips and Rafinha in Football Manager, and they also have Jack Harrison, Rodrigo, Dallas, Koch, Firpo, Llorente and Click as some of their better players at the club. In terms of players with potential at the club, we have Meslier in goal, who has a lot of potential, as well as Pascal Struijk, I'm going to call him, at centre-back, a Dutch centre-back with a lot of potential too. Academy product Charlie Cresswell has a lot of potential, as does Joe Gelhart, a player that they signed from Wigan a few years back for £1 million. Financially, we've got £50 million in the bank balance and £24 million of a transfer budget available to spend, with not too much debt, £74 million of transfer debt with £58 million net debt, which hopefully we can get paid off depending on what kind of business we do here. Of course, being in the space of 5 years and trying to achieve as much as you can in that 5 years, we are going to have to spend money, we are going to have to improve the squad, because currently, if we look at the Premier League and sort by season preview, we are predicted to finish 13th, so we're not going to get any finish that's too special with those kind of predictions. We need to up the squad, up the level of the squad, but at least what we can see here, there's plenty of clubs that are considered worse than us, and hopefully that will mean we'll have enough to stay up in those first few seasons. The club are looking for us to play attacking and entertaining football, as well as develop players using the club's youth system, and overall, over the space of a few years, they just want to be top half finishers in the Premier League, eventually getting as far as being a club that can qualify for European competition. Not Champions League, mind you, just Europa League, Europa Conference League. They would be happy with that. But to get there, I think we need some improvements in the squad. So it's time for some transfers. Let's go ahead to our first transfer window and see who we bring in. Okay, first season transfers have taken place, and I think we've signed a fair few good quality players that have easily enhanced our squad's capabilities. The first one, I figured we needed an extra body in midfield, and we'll take a look at a tactical setup and why I wanted these players in a minute, but I started off by signing USA international Tyler Adams. This is a player with a lot of work rate, which is going to feature a lot in the style of play that I want to play here with this Leeds side. He's valued at around £25 million, comes with good physical, mental and technical attributes. He can defend as well as he can pass and play the ball forward, and I think he's a very good all-round midfielder. Whether we wanted him as a ball winner or a box-to-box, I think he would suit the role quite nicely. A USA international at the age of 22, who I'm sure will get loads more caps in the future. We've signed him from Leipzig for £9.5 million. He's been a fairly consistent starter in the Bundesliga, I'd say a squad player for Leipzig, but I think he's definitely an improvement in those midfield options that we did have, and I think he'll be a star for the club. I also figured we needed some enhancements on the back line, particularly in centre-back, and we have gone for current Nottingham Forest target in real life, Moussa Niakate. He's tall, physically dominant, mentally very strong and technically very good too, and he has the ability to play the ball out the back. At 25 years of age, he's probably not good enough to ever make the France national team in this version of Football Manager, but he does have plenty of under 21 caps. There's a lot of talent there, and he comes in as one of our better centre-backs at £9 million. A consistent Bundesliga starter over the last few years. I think he's a great signing. As a side note, I have a card of this guy on So Rare. I've spoke about So Rare before. I'm not going to speak about it too much here, but I do want to let you guys know, if you are interested, I do have a second channel where there'll either be one video up or no videos up just yet that you can find linked in the description. I'm starting it soon. It is going to be So Rare focused, which is all about collectible cards online. I'm going to see if I enjoy that kind of content. If I don't, I'll use the second channel for whether it be clips or football analysis, real life football analysis that is, or maybe even I'll do something regarding kit collecting, because as you can see, I've got a lot of kits and I have a lot of kits in my collection that I'd like to show off. So if that sounds like something that would interest you, or you just want to be an absolute legend, I'd greatly appreciate you going over there, hitting the subscribe button, even if you never intend on watching a video. It would really help to get the channel up on its legs, so if you want to check that out, link to my description, that would be awesome. But we have signed Llorente, and I think he is a top draw player. I have made one further sign-in, so just to let you know, if you don't know how Football Manager works, all of these ones here are ones that the team had already made. That includes a left-back from Barcelona, Junior Firpo, who's had a bit of a shaky start, I would say, since joining Leeds. If you're a Leeds fan, do let me know in the comments below if he has been amazing, but from what I could tell, it didn't seem like he fitted very well in the team, at least under Bielsa. I might be wrong. I mean, to be honest, I'm wearing a Chelsea kit here, and they are listed as one of Leeds' biggest rivals in Football Manager, and in real life, that is the case, so I do apologise. I haven't got amazing Leeds knowledge as a Chelsea fan here. I hope you do forgive me. But anyway, we have signed a left-back. I felt like we needed some more backup in that area, and we have signed a player who I think is severely underrated here in Football Manager. He's classed as 2.5 stars, but don't take the star ratings into account too much in this video, because if you don't know, they're not fully representative of the player that you can see on screen in FM. But we've got a 23-year-old Croatian called Borna Sosa. He's valued at around £7 million. He's another player that we've signed from the Bundesliga, this time from Stuttgart, for £5 million. I think he's a great signing. He's a very good all-rounder, good going forward, but can do the defensive side of the game in that left-back spot. Now, it seems I've inadvertently signed 3 Bundesliga players. Forget about this guy in the middle here. This was a signing from a director of football as a free transfer. No idea who he is. He's probably for the B team or the youth team. But yeah, I've unknowingly signed 3 Bundesliga players, but that might be for a reason here, because I'm actually looking to keep in line with what Leeds have in real life and get the best out of it, which is a lot of energy, a physical presence in terms of running, where they just run harder and work harder than anyone else, particularly under Bielsa. That seemed to be the case. And I've tried to go for players with high work rate and who will fit into this Leeds team quite naturally. I can't go out there as Leeds manager with 24 million and attract the world's best players, so I've tried to go for players I actually think could suit them in real life too, and I think our signings here have been pretty good, and it leads our best 11 looking like this in this tactic, which I'll speak about in a second. So currently it thinks Rodrigo, Jack Harrison, Click, Rafinha, Tyler Adams, Phillips, Firpo, Llorente, Struck, Dallas, and Meslier in goal makes our best 11, and that is in this tactic that I'm going for here, which is a Gagan Press. Now, I'm not trying to recreate any kind of tactical style that Leeds have had in real life, but Gagan Press involves a lot of pressing, a lot of energy, and I think that will suit this Leeds team very nicely. And we're going for a 4-2-3-1 balance, just because I don't feel like we needed a 5 at the back formation with Leeds. I wanted to get the best out of a hard tackling Phillips in the midfield, and we've got some very good wide options in Rafinha, Harrison, Daniel James as well, amongst a few other names. We have got a pretty stacked team, and I'm fairly confident this side should be able to at least stay up and maybe get a mid-table finish in the Premier League. But the only way to find out is to simulate a year ahead and see how this side does. And here we are on the 31st of May, and to be honest, it's not looking great for our Leeds side. We have finished in 14th place, which is probably my lowest ever finish in a first season in one of these rebuild videos for a long time, which shows me there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a few things that we can take solace in. Leeds in real life with this squad that I've got here, obviously we've added a few players, but the main bulk of this squad did finish in 17th place in the league, I believe, maybe even 16th at the end, but they were very close to relegation. We have finished in 14th on 44 points. We're 11 points clear of the relegation zone, so it's been fairly fine in that department. I think the tactic will need a bit of a tweak as well, but then you look at the teams above us in the Premier League, and it's hard to argue that most of these squads don't have more quality than us. Maybe only Brentford, you could argue we have a better first 11 than, but then Brentford are a very good team, a well-drilled side, and of course, they've got Christian Eriksen, so he's going to have helped them a hell of a lot. But yeah, 14th place, it wasn't great. We got knocked out of the FA Cup in the 3rd round and the Carabao Cup in the 4th round, and it wasn't the best of seasons for us here. So there's definitely work to be done in Season 2, but we have got a bit of a transfer budget to work with. We've got around £30 million, and we're going to try and do the best we can with that. We're going to have to wiggle it around to get some wage budget, but I think after a season now, the transfer market will be more open and we might be able to sell some players on to allow for better players to come in. So with that being said, let's get working on some more transfers to improve this side. Okay, here we go, the second season of transfers here, and you can see the incomings that we had that have crossed over from last year that we already knew about, Llorente, Sosa and Adams. We have a couple of other free transfers from the director of football, purely to help the development centre teams. nothing to do with our first team. But we've let two players go right off the bat. Adam Forshaw left pretty quickly for just over £1 million to Lincoln in Sky Bet League One. I didn't think he really had enough quality to be in our side anymore with Tyler Adams coming in. He barely played last season, 10 appearances, 1 goal, and to be honest, the fact that he's gone to Lincoln might sum up how good of a player he really was. And then we've let Tyler Roberts go as well for £2.7 million. He's gone to Monterrey. And it was those forward areas that we did improve a lot in the transfer market, with a lot of big name players coming in. You can see a big list of names of signings that we've made here, but it should be noted that we've actually made more from sales than we have spent. So I think that's a good thing to see. We're not spending more than we can afford. And if we do look at the players that we let go, the first one was Diego Llorente, the 28-year-old Spaniard, played only 9 times for his last season because of Niakate, because of Liam Cooper. We've got Charlie Cresswell coming up and Pascal Struijk as well in them centre-back roles. Just Llorente didn't play so much. He's gone for £15.5 million, which, considering he only played 24 times in the league across 2 seasons at Leeds, I think to get most of your money back is pretty good. So he's gone out to Germany, to Eintracht Frankfurt. Well, I'm sure he will be great. We did let Rodrigo go as well to Olympiacos. In terms of when the manager was picking the sides, he was actually using Rodrigo a lot as our central striker, and to get 10 goals and 34 appearances, I didn't think it was good enough. Leeds have taken a loss here, but I think they overspent at £26.5 million. So to get just over £13 million from the Greek side to be able to spend back into our team, I figured it made sense. The French club Lens have decided they wanted to spend £25 million on 2 of our players, Daniel James and Jamie Shackleton. Shackleton was another one where he had a lot of potential, an English central midfielder who's came through the Leeds ranks, but he didn't play too much like some of the others, and I just didn't think he was the right fit for our side, so he has moved on for 12.25. Daniel James as well, he just wasn't very good considering the money spent from him from Manchester United. I'm not in the business of keeping these players around just because the former manager has spent a lot of money on them. It should also be noted as well, if your favourite player has been sold here, I do apologise, but it's just a rebuild video. Don't worry too much about it. I'm just trying to make the club as good as possible. And with that being said, we have sold 2 Leeds favourites, with Luke Ayling also going to Olympiacos for £9.25 million. A good player, but in Football Manager terms, not the world's best. He was a very good all-rounder, but that was pretty much it. But I just wanted to progress the team a little bit more, so he went out the door, as did Liam Cooper for £4.4 million to Bordeaux, but I think we got a good replacement for him. Helder Costa left after coming back from loan for £3.1 million, and outside of that, we let go of their keeper, Kiko Casilla, who was on loan last season, and the other notable mentions are Cody Drammer, a very good young right-back who's gone out on loan to Besiktas, and Joe Gelhart, a very good young striker who's gone out on loan to Greece to AEK Athens. Now, it might look like we've sold a lot of players there, a lot of players who were key to Leeds' squad depth. However, I think we've replaced them with players that are far better and are now going to really challenge for those first team spots, and we spent less than we made from those sales. So I think it made a lot of sense. And the first player that we bought in, we've gone for the Mexican striker / wide forward, whatever you want to call him, Jose Juan Macias, a player who I think will suit the Leeds team very nicely. I had reservations over the fact that he didn't have too much in terms of work rate, but I think in terms of a squad option, with the squad we've currently got, someone who can play on that left-hand side as a goal threat, as well as someone who can play down the middle on occasion, I certainly think £8 million was worth it. He scored plenty of goals for Chivas last year, so I'm going to take that as a positive, and he'll be a good squad player, as will Glenn Kamara, a Finnish international with 47 appearances, signed from Rangers. He cost us £14.75 million, but he had an amazing season out in Scotland last year, and I think he's a great option for depth in the middle of the park and could easily challenge for a starting role with those attributes. He's a great midfielder, Glenn Kamara, and I think it's a great signing at that price point. Liam Cooper went off to Bordeaux, and we took one of their centre-backs, a younger centre-back with a lot more potential, by the name of Anel Ahmedhodzic, a former Football Manager favourite. We've brought him over to Leeds for £2.5 million. I think it's really good business. I think we've gave them arguably a worse player, and they paid more for him than what we paid for Anel Ahmedhodzic, and I think he's a great squad option. 6'5", a physically dominant centre-back who can also progress the ball. I think that's a good deal. We did need depth in the midfield after letting Forshaw and Shackleton go amongst a few names, so we've brought through Billy Gilmore on a loan from Chelsea. We'll see how that works out. 1.5 million over the course of one season really won't look like too much. He's a player with a lot of quality. We just need to see if he can fit into the squad, but we'll think more about him later if we do decide to make it permanent. Gabriel Menino was a player who I wanted to sign as a right-back squad option, as well as a potential midfield option who can also play defensive midfield if we needed it. He's a Brazilian 21-year-old with plenty of potential. He's joined us from Palmeiras out in Brazil for £11.5 million, and I think he'll be a top draw player for us, as I do think with all of these signings, but I think Gabriel Menino is a great player for just pure squad depth, and also he's got a lot of quality too. But our two statement signings came in the forward positions, the first one being that guy behind the striker, the number 10, if you want to call it that, and we have signed the Armenian Arsen Zakharian from the Russian side, Dynamo Moscow. Now, this is a player who was brilliant for them last year, only cost us £12 million. He's 19 years of age. He already looks amazing and he has a lot of potential, and his current valuation, according to the market, is about £80 million. So we've got ourselves a right steal there. Obviously, that includes his long contract, so realistically, if we were to sell him, we wouldn't get that much money, but I certainly think he was worth that investment, and I think he'll be a top draw player for us, or at least a player that makes us a big profit in the future. And then the star of my Villarreal save so far, if you want to check that out, you can find that on the channel. That's what we post mostly on here at the minute, our long-running Villarreal save, Amin Ghiori. He has been signed from Nice out in France for £14 million, a player who can also play on the left-hand side and down the middle, but for me, I think he is going to be that striker in our system. He's a great signing. I'm hoping he'll get some French caps under us as well, because I think he can do that well for the side. I'm valued at around £45 million. It has added to the quality in this squad a hell of a lot, and it now leaves our best 11 looking like this, if we can pick it. There we go. It's predicted that our best 11 would be Meslier, Dallas, Strike, Niakate, Firpo, Zakharian, Gabriel Menino with Calvin Phillips, Rafinha, Jack Harrison and Macias up top, but we've got plenty of very good squad options outside of that now who could all contribute massively to the squad, so we'll see how that plays out. You will see that the tactic has now shifted slightly. Now that I know the players a bit and the system that I want to play, we've allowed the tactic to develop a little bit to have another playmaker in the midfield and less of a hard tackling midfielder, allowing Calvin Phillips to now bomb up and down the pitch as opposed to just be sitting here and tackling. I don't want him to screen so much. I want him to get forward and use the undoubted talent that he clearly has. Now, I'm hoping this side will do a lot better in the second season, but it should be noted, the game has put us here as predicted to finish 14th, which is worse than last season's. So I'm not too sure how we're going to get on, but hopefully it'll be better than that 14th place finish. But the only way to find out is to simulate a year ahead. So I'll meet you there in a year's time. Okay, here we are. It's the end of our second season as Leeds manager, and it's gone absolutely brilliantly. The rebuild is off to a flyer. We have got Champions League football, finishing in 4th spot in the Premier League. I'm sure the lack of European competition helped us in terms of getting there, but to finish 4th is absolutely brilliant. We finished joint points with Tottenham, but because of goal difference, we have snipped that final Champions League spot, and it's been a great season for some of our new signings. Niakate has been absolutely brilliant at the back for us, being our highest rated player. A couple of attackers that have done very well were Rafinha, Amin Ghiori, the new signing, who hit 26 goals in all competitions. He was absolutely immense, and what a signing he has been. 23 goals in 38 Premier League appearances, and I'm sure he's probably already a Leeds cult hero. Meslier having a good season, as well as Calvin Phillips. Jack Harrison chips in with 13 goals, and Jose Juan Macias also chips in with 15 goals in all comps, 9 in the league. It's been a very impressive year from us. Our young star Zakharian, whilst he hasn't had the world's best season, he was perfectly fine and he is developing at a very good rate. I mean, 6.8 across the course of a season. For a player of his age, we can forgive it. The Armenian has got a lot of potential and his valuation is now through the roof. Everyone who you'd expect to perform pretty well has done. The only slight concerns would maybe be Glenn Kamara, who got a broken leg, which kind of made him miss pretty much the whole season, and he hasn't played all that much, and that could affect the kind of player that we do have, and I guess it was a waste of a signing, at least for this season. Another player who's disappointed a lot is Patrick Bamford, who is of course one of Leeds' main men up top. He had an injury last season in real life, and hopefully he'll be fit for the new season for Leeds, but in this simulation, I mean, What's that? That's 34 games played in the league and only 6 games scored across the course of 2 seasons. He's asking to leave, and maybe we give in to that and just let him go, because I'm not sure he is going to be that player for us. Amazing work rate, a brilliant pressing forward, but it hasn't quite worked in this Leeds side, so it might be time to let Bamford go. In terms of our other competitions, we got knocked out in the 5th round of the FA Cup by Man City, which is nothing to turn your nose up at. They are a very good side, as you can see. Liverpool and City competing right at the top. And we got knocked out of the Carabao Cup in the 4th round by Brighton. But I want to go even further than this. I want to make a squad that can actually compete on both a Champions League front and a Premier League front. I'm not expecting to win it or anything, but we do need more depth in the squad, more quality, if we are going to have basically 2 first 11s that can compete, because there's going to be a lot of games next season. We want to be doing as well as we can do. So it's time for season 3 and it's time for some transfers. So we decided to get our transfer business done as quick as possible. And one of the first areas I wanted to improve was still that central midfield area. And that meant that a couple players had to leave the club, including one of our first signings, Tyler Adams, who has gone to Toluca for £7.75 million. It's a bit of a loss on what we originally paid for him, but he never really cemented himself as an amazing player in that first team. And I think I'm going to call it time. We're going to cash in on him and reinvest that. Just as a side note, I did actually film season 1 and 2 in the previous day to what I'm recording on now. And since then, Tyler Adams has been linked with a move to Leeds in real life. So I guess I'm a transfer genius of some sorts. But anyway, the rebuild had to continue, and with Tyler Adams leaving, I wanted some more quality in midfield. So we signed this man, who was playing at Fulham but hadn't really been there. He was on loan at Napoli, came back into the Premier League squad and did average, but at Napoli he was very good, so I figured if he was in a better team we might get better out of him. £12.5 million for Andre Frank Zambo and Guisa. He's an engine in the middle of a park who has good tackling as well as decent passing ability, very good physical attributes, good mentals as well. It's the kind of player I think suits Leeds down to the ground, and I think it's a top draw signing. But I also wanted another central midfielder, and we went for an expensive player, a 23-year-old Portuguese international, one of the highest earners at the club now, Vitinha. Only Calvin Phillips is classed as a better midfielder than him, but he's been immense for Porto over the last couple of seasons in this Football Manager world. Very good technical, mental and physical ability. He's not lacking in too many areas. He's a hard worker, and he has got that technical excellence that I think we needed in the squad. We have a lot of hard working tackling midfielders, but we needed the kind of person who could play those killer final balls, and I think Vitinha could be the man. But our business did not stop there. We sold plenty more players. The ones of note that I'll quickly run through: Matthijs Klich has left to join Bordeaux, another player going to Bordeaux. He left for £3 million. He's been playing pretty consistently for our Leeds side, but I decided it was time to move him on. Robin Koch as well has gone to join Rennes for £8.5 million, which I think is actually pretty good business on our end. He's still 26, so he's got a lot of time, but he's been injured for the last couple of years, hasn't played too much under our management, and I figured it was time to let him go after only 3 appearances last season. I mentioned wanting to let Bamford go, and we did exactly that. We got around £4 million for him. He's gone to the Serie A to Bologna, and hopefully he'll have a good time of it, but I just don't think it was right to keep him around at Leeds any longer with the influence that he'd been having on that first team, just really not scoring enough goals for the amount of opportunities that he's got. And we sold Junior Firpo as well for £17.5 million to Ukrainian side Shakhtar Donetsk. He's been fine for his Firpo, but again, compared to Bernd Sosa at the back, he just wasn't that good. We make a profit on what Leeds paid for him from Barcelona, so I think we'll take that as a small victory. And the only other outgoing that I really want to talk about is Joe Gelhart. Part of my decision to let Bamford go was knowing that next season Gelhart would come back and would hopefully be a pretty big player for us. He's probably got better attributes than Bamford already, and he's only 21 with a lot of potential. A very good season in terms of goal scoring ratio for Athens last season out in Greece, and now he goes to Anderlecht, a big club in Belgium. Hopefully he can continue that good form. In terms of incomings, we added to our centre-back ranks by signing Leonidas Sturgiu, the Swiss centre-back from Inter Milan. We're paying just under £2 million to take him on loan for the season, and he provides very good cover at the back without having to worry too much about giving him loads of game time, because he's going to get upset. At the end of the day, he's not our player, so I think we're fine in that department. We've brought through a few players on free transfers just to help the squad as well. With Junior Firpo going, we needed a backup left back to Sosa, and I thought Marcus Alonso could be a good backup. He was available on a free, he was let go by Chelsea, so we'll see what we can do with Marcus Alonso. Armindo Sieb is another player that we've bought in. He's got a lot of potential, a German available on a free transfer after Bayern decided not to give him a new deal. He was brilliant for Bayern Munich's second team, has actually appeared for the Bayern Munich first team on a couple of occasions, but I think to get this guy on a free is a good deal in my eyes. Either footed, he's got a lot of potential to grow, and if not, we can sell him on for a pretty tidy profit. I mean, we got him for free and he's worth around £30 million now. That is not too bad business at all. This is a director of football signing, and then we had a bit of money to play with, so I have bought through a few players for not this season but next season. I've sent them back on loan to their parent clubs to develop. The first one is Wilfried Gnonto, £7.5 million for him after 2 good seasons out at Zurich. A lot of room to grow. It's a bit of a punt on the man, but I'm hoping he will turn out to be good business for our Leeds side. And then finally, a great signing I think is this man, Nemanja Matica, a German 20-year-old who is playing out at Red Star. He's been good for them over the last couple of seasons, but he's still got plenty of potential to keep developing. He is described as a wonderkid by the media, good with both feet, can play on either wing, provides good cover, at least he will do next season when he comes in, and he's very good technically as well as physically, and I think that rounds up a very good transfer window, and it has now led our team to being predicted to finish 9th, which is much higher than before. Hopefully the season will go well. It'll be interesting to see how the Champions League football will affect our league form, but there's only one way to find out, so let's simulate ahead and see how we do. Okay, we haven't done as well this season, but I still think it's a pretty good showing from our Leeds side. We finished in the top 6 for the second year in a row, finishing in 6th place, only just not getting that 5th place spot. This time, again, joint with Tottenham, but they beat us on goal difference this time round. But it's been a pretty good season because obviously we did drop a few places in the league, but we had to compete on the Champions League, and I'm pretty proud of how we did. We got all the way to the quarterfinals where we were knocked out by Manchester City. The cups weren't really anything to shout home about, but we did pretty well overall. It's an interesting final actually, Lazio against Barcelona, but you can see here 3-1 on aggregate got us knocked out, but we did knock out Benfica on the way in a pretty close tie. And then if we check out the groups, who did we have? We finished top of our group. That's pretty impressive. In a group with Olympiacos, Ajax and Atletico Madrid, we won 4 of the games, drew 2. I think that's very impressive from us. We beat Atletico Madrid 7-0 at home, and it looks like Amin Ghiori has had a brilliant season in the Champions League, and I'm sure we'll be fending off a lot of interest from him now. So that's 3 seasons under our belt, only 2 more remaining. Can we get any silverware? I'd quite like to. Not really expecting Premier League at this stage. I don't think our squad is good enough for that, but who knows how far we could go. Don't forget, if you are enjoying, to smash a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. But let's get into season 4's transfers. So let's get right into it, shall we? We started off our transfer business selling Glenn Kamara. It was a failed transfer overall. We got about half of the value back of what we paid for him, but that broken leg just screwed the whole man's career. He played only 1 time last season, 8 times in his first season before taking that massive injury, but he is going to move on. He's still a quality player, and I'm sure he will do well, and I think to take that much money for him is still pretty good business on our end. A player we've been scouting for a long time that I think really suits this Leeds dynamic was Nicholas Sievold of RB Salzburg, the Austrian with 17 caps and 4 goals, who can play central midfield or defensive midfield. Seems like a very good fit for our up-and-coming side that works hard and also has technical ability while still being fairly young. We're trying to feed that kind of dynamic through the squad, and I think Siewold fits it perfectly. Valued at around £45 million, his physicals are exceptional, his mentals are very, very impressive, and he's got the technical ability too. He's as good at passing as he is at defending, and that's what we want in these players. We signed him for £15 million after 3 good years out in Salzburg. I think it's a great deal, to be honest. We've also spent very big on a left back who I think could be the future of that position. I did a Wonderkid to Superstar on him back on the FM Scout channel. It is Jesus Vasquez, a young Spanish left back who can go forward very well, but he's also absolutely brilliant in that defensive phase with 16 tackling, and he's got the work rate and the physical attributes to get up and down. He easily comes in as our best left back ahead of Bernd Sosa. He's cost us £32.5 million, which might seem a bit steep for a player who's mainly been playing for the second team for Valencia, but I think it's a steal, and I think he could be a great bit of business. We'll see how we get on though, and we'll see if it really was worthwhile. Our only other transfer in was making our loan deal permanent for Leonidas Sturgiu, who had a great season out on loan for us last year, 7.13 average match rating. We paid £15.75 million for him. Inter, I'm sure, are rubbing their hands for that because they've basically doubled their money, only playing him one time. But I think he is that impressive. I think he's got a great future at the back at 22 years of age. He is going to be someone that we can build around going forward. And we've also decided to sell some of the fringe players that we had in the team. The first one was Jack Harrison. This actually was taken out of my hands. I say sell. He was a big part of our squad. He was getting progressively worse as the seasons went on, I feel, but he decided to leave on a free. He didn't want to sign a new deal. He wanted £150,000 a week, in line with what some of the other players had at the club. I just didn't think it was worthwhile. I figured it would really disrupt the structure of our club. So we've let the 27-year-old go. He's gone to Atalanta on the free, and I'm sure he would do very well for them. Now we have Sosa and Vasquez. There was no room in the squad for Alonso, so we let him go to Genk for £1.5 million. Mateusz Bozius has gone to Legia Warsaw out in Poland. The Polish player was bought in by Leeds for £175,000, and in those first couple of seasons where he wasn't playing much, he was seen as having a lot of potential, and we had £20 million offers at the start of our save for him. We decided to say no in the hopes that he would become a great player for us, but it didn't work out. And I still think £5 million is not a bad bit of business on the player that you can see here, who looks like he's never going to peak at the level that we thought he maybe could have done. Some more great business on our end, in my opinion, is letting Armin Ghiori go. We bought him in on a free. He played as our third striker last season and he was fine, but realistically, with Gelhart coming back now, I decided it was time to let Sieb go, so we got £7.5 million profit from the player that we bought him for free. He has gone to Lens out in the French First Division. And we've also let Wilfried Gnonto go for a similar reason. There's just no space up front, and he really wasn't turning out to be the player that I think we thought we got when we signed him. But at the same time, it was a good bit of business because we pay £7.5 million, we loan him out, we get a good idea of what kind of player he really is, and then we get an offer for him for 9.75. We make profit, never having to use the lad. Financially, it makes sense, I suppose, and I'm very happy with where we're taking this club. In terms of our facilities as well, you will see that I've been developing them over time. State-of-the-art training, excellent youth facilities, exceptional academy and youth recruitment. And financially, we've pretty much cleared all of the debt that the club did have, and we've still got £50 million. I do think we've made a really good team here, but we're still predicted 9th place in the Premier League, which is not too shabby at all. But let's see if we can overperform yet again and maybe push for another European place. So I'll see you there. Okay, 4th season is over and we're finishing in 8th place this year, which is obviously not as good as we would have wanted, but it's still higher than where the media predicted us to come. 58 points was quite a low tally, but still, we're having this battle with Tottenham. We've finished joint points with them for the 3rd season in a row. This time we beat them on goal difference. So I think looking at the teams ahead of us, you can kind of argue we're maybe where we should be. I'd like to think we were better than Everton and West Ham at this stage, but clearly not. But yeah, overall it's just a fairly disappointing season. I wouldn't think too much of it. In terms of We've won a cup competition. We have won a European competition. There we go. I think that's the Conference League, so it's not as impressive as it could have been, but I still think that's very good, and that will qualify us now for the Europa League. And I suppose technically we can say that we finished ahead of West Ham because of that. We are in the Europa League. They're going to the Conference League. Did we start off in the Conference League? We beat Udinese 2-1 in the final. I don't know if we originally started in this competition or whether we got knocked into it. No, we did. We won all 6 games in our group. We apparently weren't in the first knockout round. We must have got some kind of bye through that section. And then we beat Servette 6-0 in the second knockout round. Quarterfinal was a 6-1 win on aggregate against Karabag, so we're doing very good at this stage. Semi-final, we win 5-2 on aggregate against Feyenoord. Pure domination. And then Udinese were the only team who tried to stand in our way. Very happy with the fact that we beat them. And that is actually our first bit of silverware in this rebuild, and it might be the only bit that we get, but I think we can take solace in the fact that we finished 4th, we finished 6th, and now we've finished in another European spot, if you want to call it that. Southampton all the way in 15th, somehow getting a Europa League place as well. Top performers is kind of more of the same, but a notable shout out to Charlie Cresswell, who has came into our squad this season and done very well when called upon in his 8 appearances for the club. And Cody Drama as well is a good right back option, playing 4 times and playing well on those occasions. So congratulations to him, I guess. He has done very well. Leeds fans will be very happy with this. Gelhart has scored 22 goals. He actually scored 12 in the Conference League, so clearly he prefers European football. He's used to it after all those seasons seasons out at Athens and at Anderlecht, but that's good to see that we've got him scoring a lot. But we've done very well so far, but can we push a little bit further, maybe even win another trophy? Let's see what we can do. Season 5, the last season, let's make a few transfers and see if we can just tweak this squad to be a little bit better. We've let Frank Zambo Anguissa leave the club to Arsenal for £35 million. Didn't play so much last season, but that's a great bit of turnaround in terms of profit over 2 years at the club where he was never really a guaranteed starter, so that's good to see. We bought in some good money there, and then we have decided to spend it on Matheus Nunes in midfield. He is a Portuguese 26-year-old who is already a quality player, classed as a world-class midfielder, which is great to have in this midfield. If we partner him with Vitinha, we've got a very good Portuguese partnership going. £36.5 million for a guy who's done very well at Sporting in recent years. He's not going to get you loads of goals, he'll get you a few assists, but he's really just that pivot point in the midfield, the one that the balls are always going to go through. Our little playmaker, Matheus Nunes, a world-class midfielder, joins Leeds, and we've also got a very good centre-back by the name of Lucas Verissimo. He has joined us from Benfica for £32.5 million. He comes in as one of the, actually there you go, he's the best centre-back at the club at this stage. At 29, he's older than the other two, so it makes sense, but the Brazilian has one cap for the national team and is a very powerful centre-back, as you can see here in his media description, but he can also play out the back too if you really wanted him to. But in terms of a defender who's going to throw his body on the line, I think Verissimo is a great pickup. I should also make note of this guy as well that we bought in, which I think is a great signing, who might not help us now, but in terms of 5 years in the future of this Leeds team, will be massive for them. Eugenio Delgado of Atletico Madrid's B team, an Argentinian wonderkid who at the age of 18 looks this good. I think he has got plenty of potential. He actually played a lot for us last year, having joined in January from Atletico Madrid's B team, and I think he is going to be a star for this Leeds side eventually. Maybe not yet, but eventually. We signed another player by the name of Bruno Gomes. He's a new gen forward who I think we just had to sign at the value he was available for. £10 million for a man who's been bagging them in, and he's now valued at around £45 million. Great signing, 20 technique. You don't see that very often from a striker. I think he'll be great for the club, and we made a couple of extra sales as well. With us bringing in Verissimo and of course Charlie Cresswell's emergence in the last few seasons, we could afford to let go of our centre-backs who weren't playing too often. The first one was Anel Ahmedhodzic, who hasn't played too much since we signed him, and we sold him for pretty much the same value that we paid for him, so I think we'll take that as a little win. We bought a centre-back from Portugal and we sent another one back their way. Going to Sporting was Musa Niakate, who's been a great servant for us since we signed him. He was playing very consistently still, playing very well still, always hitting above a 7 average match rating, but £24.5 million, more than doubling our initial investment on a player who's now 29, replace him pretty much for the same price with Verissimo, who's classed as a better player. You can see just here, he's behind Verissimo, he's behind Sturgeon, he's behind Struijk, and then, Charlie Cresswell isn't too far off his level either. And I knew Niakate wouldn't want to be the 4th choice centre-back, so we've let him go to Sporting, where I'm sure he'll be a massive player for them. But that is our final bit of transfer business done with Leeds. It has left our squad looking like this if we go to squad depth. Gelhart and Macias are good striking options, as well as the young up-and-coming striker Bruno Gomes. We've got Matica and Ghiori on this left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we've got options like Rafinha. Stuart Dallas is still kicking round, Zakarian if needed, but he's mainly seen as the number 10. We've got Vitinha as well, Matheus Nunes, Searwold, Calvin Phillips, Gabriel Menino, some great centre-back options, good young left-backs as well in Vasquez and Sosa. Cody Drammer is filling in as the backup on either side, and I think that is a great little squad to have developed over these 5 years. Obviously, if you were hands-on managing, you'd probably be able to do a little bit better, but in terms of just trying to rebuild a club purely through transfers and not managing the matches, I think this has gone very well. So let's simulate our 5th season and see if we can add another trophy to that cabinet of 1 that we've got so far. And we finished in 5th place. We're ahead of Tottenham yet again. We're at 17th place for Tottenham. Wow. They've been keeping up with us throughout this whole simulation, but now they have fallen way behind. We finished in 5th, like I mentioned, and I could be wrong, but that might be our highest points total if not the highest, it's in line with what we got roughly in that Champions League qualification year. But it has been a good season for us, very happy with how that's gone. In terms of other competitions, we were runners-up in the Carabao Cup. I saw the trophy there and thought we might have won it. FA Cup, 4th round defeat to Tottenham, who again have came back to bite us, and we got knocked out in the quarter-final of the Europa League by Chelsea. We'll be in the Europa League next season, so it's another consistent season of European football, and I'm sure Leeds fans overall would be very happy with that. The two Gs, Ghiori and Gelhart, have been some of our best players this year. Gelhart getting 27 goals, 18 of which are in the league, and he's becoming one of the better forwards in the Premier League now. Still no cap for the England first team, but there's a lot of time. Now he's wanted by Arsenal and West Ham, so I imagine that call-up won't be too far away. A lot of players performing very well, and overall, the squad has done absolutely fantastic. Is there a game that we can watch to just see how our side was playing? Maybe we've got a big win at the end of the season. Here we go. Here's a 5-2 win that we had against Bournemouth. Let's see how this game went with loads of our new players scoring goals and Gelhart getting 2. They might just be corner goals, whatever it might be, but I didn't do anything special with the tactic. So I'm just interested to see what kind of football we play. Here's our first goal. It's our side playing in the white. Matica gets the ball from a great Zakarian pass. He pulls it back and Gelhart finishes as a poacher in the box. We go 1-0 up after 6 minutes. Then 11th minute, it looks like it's going to be a Bournemouth goal. I don't know any of these players, but let's have a look. Looks like we were quite easily beaten with one ball through the defence there. A very similar goal to what we scored, to be honest. And Ben Rama, of all players, tucking it away for Bournemouth there to make it 1-1. We then had a free kick which Sosa played into the box, and Zakarian rises highest. The Armenian scores a header into the back of the net. You wouldn't really expect him to score headers, but he has done so. Now the score's 2-1, and Bournemouth go forward with a long ball forward yet again. That seems to be the thing that kills you off. And this is what I mean about if you were managing hands-on, you'd see these things and you'd address these problems. When you're not managing hands-on, you have no idea. Here's Verissimo though, finds Seawold in the middle. Vitinha with a very incisive pass behind the back line to Joe Gelhart, who finishes to make it 3-2 after 53 minutes. An enthralling game so far, but we're going to put it to bed now with Verissimo on the edge of the box to Seawold. He finds Sosa, he's got a little bit of space, he plays through Amin Ghiori, who finishes very well. Look at all those players in the box there trying to score. Very attacking is this Leeds team. I mean, there's no one in the stadium. I don't know where they've all gone. It's a very quiet stadium today at Ellen Road, but Ghiori plays a ball over the back to Matica, who finishes well in the 91st minute to win 5-2. And that, guys, is the end of this Leeds rebuild. We've done very well overall, I'd say, getting European football and also winning the Conference League. That's not to say we couldn't have done better, but I think in terms of what we've done with this squad, it's pretty cool to see. We've developed the facilities at the club, the finances are in a great place with barely any debts or loans, and the club are very happy with us as manager. I think it's gone brilliantly, but let me know who you'd like to see rebuilt next. Thank you to anyone who stuck around to watch this long. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.